Hello there and welcome to another edition of Times Exclusive here on Times TV with me, Wezi Kasambala. Today, I'm joined by the National Publicity Secretary of the United Democratic Front. Some of you might consider him the spokesperson, perhaps, of UDF, and that is, of course, Ndanga. You know that the election period has, of course, officially opened. We saw the launch just a couple of weeks ago in the capital city of BICC. Having said that, political parties, of course, have a lot of work to do, but then it means there's also a lot of issues that we want covered and ironed out, which is why Mr. Ndanga is in the hot seat. Good day. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
A pleasure to have you, as always, in the studios.
Pleasure's mine, too.
There are signs that UDF may perhaps be regrouping, for lack of a better phrase. And I say that because we seem to see your supporters, sympathizers outside your offices, dancing, that kind of thing, singing songs. We have had reports to that effect. Given your partnership with the DPP, what does this mean?
Well, we have already said that the UDF party is a party on its own, and that the activities that you're talking about, these are routine activities.
Right.
You're talking about people grouping at the headquarters.
Yes.
That's what they've been doing all along. They meet, I think, once in a month, towards the end of the month, and that is the trend in all the districts. If you are to ask anybody within our party structures, if they are not, especially at the district level, if they are not meeting on the 30th, they will meet on the 20th. If they're not meeting on the 20th, they will be meeting at the 29th of every month. So, in essence, what we're saying is that it has been the tradition that people meet every month.
But you don't feel that this does sort of have implications on what the status of your relationship is with the DPP, because we've always considered that now that you're in this partnership that you're one. But if you're seen to be doing things sort of in isolation, you don't think that has implications?
Well, I think what you're saying.
It sends across
I think
a message.
when you're saying that we are one, I think maybe perhaps according to the media. But I think everybody knows in our party, all our members know that we have our own structure. We have our own leadership structure from the top to the bottom, and those structures are the ones that we've been seeing gathering or grouping. Meeting at the headquarters. Those are the structures that we're talking about. We have said, I think, on several occasions that the relationship between the UDF party and the DPP is a parliamentary one. And it ends there.
Is that it?
Yes.
You say that, yet the president, Arthur Peter Mutarga, very recently made remarks in Mangochi where he actually told ladies who were wearing UDF cloths that at some point we'll all be wearing the same cloth. What did he mean by that then, if you're not one?
Well, I am not the spokesperson of the president, and therefore perhaps I cannot speak.
But it's imperative that you know
well,
that this happened.
the communication for any decision in the UDF comes from the relevant structures of the party. And last time I checked, I think the authorities that you're talking about were not part and parcel of the UDF, and therefore we cannot take those statements as being anything else.
But you may still have to take them as something as concerning.
Well, that was that perhaps the president might have been excited. So you
think it was just a slip of the tongue?
Well, I am saying perhaps the president might have been very excited having seen UDF there, having seen the DPP there. I think who will really be against unity? Unity is very important, and perhaps the president was just trying to express his happiness seeing the two parties.
Ndanga, are you not downplaying the president's remarks a little bit?
Well, I am saying decisions to do with the UDF comes from relevant party structures. And the president of the republic is not part of that structure. He's not part of that structure.
Yet he still felt confident enough to make such a statement.
Well, That's why I'm saying I cannot speak on behalf of the president.
Now, I'm asking you, as a representative
I'm
of
being
UDF
asked this
Ndanga.
question perhaps
Yes.
for the third time, and nobody has taken an initiative to start to ask the person who actually made that statement.
Yes, but I'm asking
it will be very important this time around.
All right, but
Yes.
what I'm asking you as the representative of the UDF is, what do you make of those sentiments? And do you not, as UDF, feel concerned that if the president was bold enough to say that should you not be concerned? I'm not asking you as a DPP representative. I'm asking you as UDF.
No, well, we believe that that statement was made in good faith, and therefore
Yes.
it shouldn't be a concern to us. We have our own business to do. Yes.
But you realize I've asked you that because you clearly said we are not one. So that is why this question was relevant.
We are not one, and it is a fact that we are not one. That's why you're actually saying that you've been seeing people, UDF supporters, UDF members, meeting at some place. Have you seen any other member of another party? That should tell you that we are a party on our own.
Okay.
And we've been having activities on our own, and that has been the trend. Yes.
We'll get to the implications of your relationship at some point and how inadvertently it will still impact you, the relationship that you have with the DPP, as much as you're saying you're effectively isolated. But before we get there, you're obviously planning a convention very soon.
Yes.
Yes. And from what we understand, your leader, Atupele Muluzi, is being challenged by the likes of Lucius Banda for the actual presidential seat. Is that to suggest that perhaps Atupele might not stand as a presidential candidate, or is he going to support the president?
Let me explain this for the sake of you, the media, but perhaps also for the sake of...
I think primarily for the Malawians.
The Malawians. In UDF, we are guided by a constitution. And that constitution says that we're supposed to have a convention.
Yes.
And there are two types of conventions. One, an elective one. And secondly, there could also be an emergency convention where perhaps there are issues that you think they need to be decided by that kind of forum. And you have that convention. Now, this convention is the normal convention, which is an elective convention, which means that when we go to that convention, people will also have to contest. Even my position, it is up for grabs. If I want to retain my seat, I'll have to campaign. But in order for me to be recognized as an aspirant, there is a process. And the process starts with getting nomination forms. And once you get the nomination forms, there is also a process, because you have to fill all those requirements and also make sure that you are eligible. And once that is done, then the names are taken to the National Executive. And the National Executive approves those names. And therefore, at that point, that's when you become an aspirant. You understand? That is the process. That is the process. Now, nothing of that sort has happened. What we are hearing is from the newspapers that there are people who are actually wanting to contest.
Yes.
And therefore, it will be very unfair for us now to start be talking about one particular individual who has perhaps expressed intention to contest as president for the United Democratic Front through the media, because perhaps he might not be the only person, because we are open. Anybody who wants to contest for any position is free to do that, and therefore it will be very, very, very unfair for us to start talking about a particular individual. If you want us to discuss about people who are aspiring, then perhaps we should discuss these issues in general principles, that the race is open for everybody, not only for the presidency, but for all other national executive positions that are there.
That may be so, Mr. Ndanga, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you've actually refuted the allegations either. So the point I'm trying to make is this is still happening within your party. Clearly, as much as we, the media, are reporting it, there must be an element of truth to it. And that is what I'm trying to tackle here. And what I'm trying to get at is Atupele going to stand as a presidential candidate, or is he going to support the president? Who's challenging him is perhaps immaterial, like you rightly said, because it hasn't been endorsed by your constitution.
I have said.
But you haven't answered the question.
I have said that for one to become a presidential candidate of the UDF, he has to express an interest, and he'll have to be nominated.
So has your leader expressed an interest?
No, we cannot say that he has expressed an interest, because we can only know that when he has presented his nomination papers. So
are you telling me that within your party you have no inkling or inclination as to who is interested in that position? Really?
Well,
so late in the game.
All I can say is that now I'll be talking about what people are saying. People have made it very, very, very clear. We had a rally in Machinga quite recently, last Sunday. We also had on the last Sunday, that's on the 24th of February 2018. And before that, I think the other week, the president was also meeting leaders in the Lilongwe. They have expressed interest to say, we want to nominate you as a presidential candidate for the UDF. But he will have to respond through a nomination form. That is what because you see, you only become a candidate or an aspirant when you have collected the nomination forms. Without the nomination forms, you are just perhaps an aspirant. We're just something else.
Okay.
Yes.
So I suppose you're driving more at technicalities. The technicality of it, which is your constitution, which says you have to go through a nomination, etc., etc. That doesn't change the fact that you still have people within your camps challenging your president, your leader.
Well, if we have people...
They do. They are.
Yes, if we have people saying we want to challenge the president, isn't that a good thing?
Yes, it
for
is.
democracy, and therefore people should be. I think we should be saying the UDF is very democratic, because in other political parties that cannot happen. Once you express interest to say I want to challenge the president, that would be dismissal. In other political parties that is a treason. But in UDF we are very open, we are very democratic, we lead by example, and that should be saying.
Why would it be treasonous? Because does it not perhaps suggest that maybe members of your own party have somehow lost faith in your president?
No. It doesn't. No. We are a democratic party.
Why should it be treasonous?
We must lead by example. We must lead by example.
Okay.
We must make these positions competitive, so that whoever wins has the trust of the people. Yes, and competition is very healthy in a political party. I am a spokesperson. I'm the national publicity secretary for this party. Do you expect me just to go?
So you're not worried about how this makes your president look?
In terms of what?
Leader, in terms of his credibility, you don't think it dents his credibility?
If we say there must be no competition, then what are we? Then we cease to be a democratic party. We must be seen to be a democratic party.
But
we are the United Democratic Party. United, that means you have to be doing things together.
Okay.
Democratic means that we have to be very transparent. We have to be open in terms of where we do our things, and therefore we must also be very accommodating. And this is what we're doing.
But you won't recognize this democratic dispensation you're referring to unless it's put in writing formally. That's what you're saying.
No, you're
not going to recognize these challenges unless they're formal.
No, this is not. I think the problem that you're using the word challenge.
Well, what's the better way?
What we're saying is that when you are going to an election within the party, there must be 2 or 3 people competing.
Okay.
Because if there are no competitors, then what is it? Okay. It will not be an election. It will be a coronation, perhaps. So we are saying we are a democratic party, and the party says that anybody has a chance. I can even go and compete if I wanted, but I'm not interested, and nobody would stop me because I'm qualified. Now, therefore, we must not see it as we must not be negative about it. We must be very positive about it. This is something that we should be excited about.
Okay.
To say there is democracy in UDF. And you as a media must be very excited about that.
I think we are going to be excited about any kind of development that has an impact on our society. But speaking of unity, you talked about the unity in the United Democratic Front.
Yes.
I wonder how unified you actually are as members of UDF, Ndanga, because members of your own party have raised concern over the perhaps preferential treatment that members of your party have in terms of the relationship with government. And I'm talking about how, for example, you have been on the ADMAC board.
Yes.
Another member who is of UDF has a diplomatic position. I think this is the gentleman called Issa. Now, why is it there's only a specific number or specific individuals that seem to be benefiting from this relationship?
Well, I
Why?
don't know.
It seems
I
like
don't
it's
know.
only
I don't know.
preferential.
I don't
and
know.
Atupele Muluzi himself.
I don't know what you mean by.
I think you do know what I mean by that.
By benefiting. You see, I'm not.
It seems like a select
I'm not an
few.
appointing authority. You understand? I was appointed by the President of the Republic. If I wasn't going to be appointed, if I wasn't going to be appointed, I was not going to create issues out of that, because I didn't know that I was going to be appointed. In fact, on the day that I was appointed, people were actually phoning me, congratulations, and I said, what? Why are you congratulating me? I was even surprised because I didn't know. It came to me as a surprise. And when you say we are being getting preferential treatment,
Yes.
perhaps
You don't feel like perhaps you're sacred lambs somehow?
No.
What about the other members of UDF? This is why I'm asking you. We started off the program.
You see, you actually say I'm being given preferential treatment if perhaps you discover that I applied for any job or an appointment. I never applied for this appointment. It was just at the pleasure of the president. It was just at the discretion of the president.
And that's the point I'm making.
And for your information, I'm not the only one. There are several others that were appointed. And I wonder why people just talk about me. And there are others who are actually chairpersons of boards. I'm just a mere member of a board. I'm not even a chairperson of the board. I'm not even a chairperson of the board. And this is perhaps when people say I'm being given preferential treatment because I've been appointed a board member. I think that sometimes I feel it's an insult to me.
Why?
You think that the whole of me to be a board member is something that I've been dreaming to become. You think that I do this politics because I want to be a board member.
But being appointed,
that is an insult to me.
Not at all.
That is an insult.
In fact, being appointed does not necessarily.
Yeah, because when people say
being
preferential treatment, what do they mean when they say preferential?
It means
treatment?
just that.
What is it?
You and a
what
select
is it? You mean to say I'm not qualified to be a board member of an
That's your
organization?
interpretation, Ndanga. Because even if you're appointed,
because when
Wait a
you're
minute,
talking about issues of appointment, you should be disputing these things based on perhaps merit, based on issues that perhaps one is not qualified. Those are the issues that. But if somebody is able to deliver, why not? I'm a Malawian. I was born in Malawi. I've lived in Malawi for the last 42 years. You understand? And I'm a Malawian. I'm a citizen of this country. I can be appointed for any position as long as I'm qualified for that position.
That's right.
And
Now,
therefore, if we want to talk about my appointment, it must be on the basis of qualification and nothing else.
Right.
And that's what we do.
We are 14 months away from
Yes.
the elections,
Yes.
Mr. Ndanga. 14 months. That's a
Yes.
very short space of time,
Yeah, it
relatively. Are you honestly telling me that you don't have a message for your voters, even at this stage, and that you're going to wait until you release a manifesto? So what are voters supposed to be thinking about the UDF?
You see, as a UDF, as a party, we have what we call issues that we stand for.
Yes.
And these issues are already in the public domain.
Are
Everybody
they?
knows. Yes.
Are they clear?
Yes,
What
they are
is-
clear. They are
I
clear.
don't think they are.
They are. No.
I don't think that. What
Perhaps
is
you
your
haven't been- you haven't
ideology?
been- you haven't been-
No. I think it's fact.
You're talking about the
All our-
ideology. We are
but it's the
liberal
same thing.
We are liberal Democrats.
Yes.
And we've always been liberal Democrats.
How
Yes.
are you going to apply that principle to changing the position of Malawi, changing the economy? How are you going to address those points using those principles?
We believe in a free market. We believe in a liberalized market. We believe in a liberalized economy. Those are the things that everybody knows. Anybody who has been following the UDF knows about that, because we are a liberal party, and we've never changed. You understand? And therefore, there are also programs that are attached to the ideologies that we believe in. We believe in the decentralization. That's why in 1998, under the leadership of the Dr. Atupele Muluzi, who then was the president, and during our time, we actually came up with a decentralization policy in 1990, which was approved by Parliament in 1998.
Okay.
And that is what gave rise to the local government that we have. You're talking about local government today. We're talking about councillors today as a result of that policy. So those are the things that we believe in.
Okay,
so
all right.
we need
Hold
to do
that thought,
is to make
Ndanga.
sure that a decentralized government works for the better of a common man. Those are the things that we're going to find. But
Let's
in terms
take a
of
break.
the how,
I'm going to have
that's
to
what
stop
we're
you
going to
there.
do
Let me
in
cut
the
you
future.
there. Let me cut you there,
Thank you.
Ndanga. We're going to take a short break and we'll continue on that note. But if you're just tuning in, you're watching this week's edition of Times Exclusive with me, Wezi Kasambala. And today I'm talking to the National Publicity Secretary of the United Democratic Front, Ken Ndanga. Welcome back to Times Exclusive with me, Wezi Kasambala, brought to you by Rainbow Paints. Today I'm talking to the National Publicity Secretary of the United Democratic Front, Mr. Ken Ndanga. Before we went to break, we were talking about what UDF has to offer, what message they're going to deliver to the electorate, given that the election period has officially been opened, but also given the special relationship that the UDF has with the Democratic Progressive Party. I was asking you about your ideology. And you were suggesting that perhaps you can't necessarily give a message until your manifesto is out. And I was saying, hang on a minute, that's not true. Your voters should know what you stand for now. You talked about being liberal, and indeed I would agree. I think the UDF was probably a beacon of liberty when you initially came into power, offered us democracy in 1994. Yes. But what do you feel that you still stand for those principles now after so long? We looked towards you for things like freedom of speech. That came with the UDF. We looked to you towards things like free education. Yes. Are you still standing by those principles, or have you been corrupted? And by corrupted, I'm using the term loosely. Corrupted by just politics generally and this special relationship that you have with the DPP. Are you still the authentic UDF that you were, the one that we all respected once upon a time?
Well, in terms of the ideology, I've said repeatedly that we are liberal Democrats.
Yes.
And we can only be challenged if somebody comes with something that says, no, you did this, and therefore this does not represent you being a liberal Democrats. But in terms of the party, that we are liberal Democrats is something that we will stand for till Jesus comes. But in terms of the programs, perhaps there are certain programs that we will have to accommodate in order for us to be relevant in terms of the change of seasons or time. Therefore, those programs will have to be accommodated. But in terms of the ideology, it still stands and will still.
But then if that's the case, then do you not appreciate that therefore your ideology is completely at odds with the party that you formed this partnership with? Because what the DPP stand for and what you originally stood for are two very different concepts.
Of course, there are
yes.
There are two different concepts in terms of their thinking. But
yes.
But we also agree that there are certain programs that are being initiated by the current government.
Like
but
what?
the same
like
the same in the
Give
UDF.
me an example.
I'll give you an example. The public reforms program. If you read the manifesto of the UDF, you'll find that
you agree.
Yes, that we will agree. In fact, when the presidential candidate for UDF 2014 was actually going around, he was actually saying, we want you people here to be able to do your passports right here in Mangochi. We want you people here to be able to do your passports right here in Nzuzu. And that's not only passports. It was also to do with the driving licenses. And that's what this government is implementing. And therefore, in terms of the programs, there are certain programs that really work well with our thinking, but not all of them.
No, not at all.
Yes, not all of them, and that is not a reason enough for us to say no, we cannot work with these people because they also have other programs. But as long as those programs are there to benefit Malawians, we will support in the program.
But I wonder whether the benefits outweigh the negatives, because like I said, you're two very different parties.
Yes.
You stand for two very different
things. You
things.
only blame us on that one if we say perhaps we have dissolved the party and we have become DPP. Then we'll be questioning our integrity.
But that's the
then
point.
You will be questioning to say, how can you do that? Because you are liberals and these are, I don't know,
well,
they are socialists.
But the thing is, as it stands, a lot of quarters feel that way. They already feel that you've been swallowed by the DPP, even as it is, because you haven't necessarily retained your authenticity as the UDF.
In terms of what? In terms of what?
In terms of your policies, for example, and in terms of what exactly you have to offer the country.
What policies
you've
have
been
we?
You've been very quiet.
They should be talking about policies perhaps that we have abandoned for the sake of the relationship. We have not abandoned any policy. We have not abandoned any policy. We still stick to our programs.
You don't think that?
But the only difference is that the only difference perhaps is that they are a ruling party. We are just there to help them, and also making sure that government business, especially those that the ones that are for the benefit of the Malawians, are actually being implemented. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing.
To what extent will UDF retain or sustain this special relationship with the DPP as we draw closer to the elections?
Well, I have said that in a UDF, there are forums or structures that make decisions. Decisions are made at NEC level, and decisions can also be made at the convention. The convention is the supreme body of our party. Decisions that have been made at the national executive level can either be ratified or rejected by the convention, and therefore issues to do with how far are we going, we will leave that in the hands of the people. We will leave that in the hands of the convention. They will decide, because those are the owners of the party, representing the masses. The delegates will represent the masses throughout the country. And therefore, so again, that issue will have to be left to them.
Again, by implication, what you're saying is you don't have an idea.
In terms of
what you're going to do.
In terms of me
in terms
personally.
In terms of the UDF.
Because
you still must have an idea.
This is not a decision.
Yes.
This is not a decision that can be made by me. It is a decision that has to be decided by the party. If, for example, if that decision, if that question, if that issue is going to be discussed at the convention, it will be put in a form of a question. What do people want? But mind you, the convention, the UDF constitution does not stop a political party from forming an alliance or a coalition with any other party. The only difference is that the constitution does not say which political party or which political organization you should work with. And therefore, it is possible that the convention can say you should not work with this one, but you should work with that one. But the constitution itself does not really say you should work with that one or that one. It only guides us to say we can work with any political organization.
Okay. It sounds like you're playing it safe.
In this case, it will be up to the people.
Are you not? It sounds like you're playing it safe.
No, I'm not playing it safe. I'm playing it constitutional.
I know you keep saying that. You keep referring to your constitution, but
yes, because that is a guiding document.
Someone else might just interpret that as you refusing to just commit to an answer.
No,
because
I'm not
all these issues
myself.
that I've talked about, where you've referred to the
I can
constitution,
say
you should be able to answer those questions.
I'm not here to give my personal opinion.
No, but it's the opinion of the party.
These are issues that ought to be guided by a constitution, because it is the constitution that guides us all.
Yes.
It is the constitution where we derive our power. And therefore, we must leave these things to the constitution.
Despite that, you must still be able to. I'm sure you've had discussions. I'm sure you have an indication as to the direction
if you want to give me,
of the
if
party.
you want me,
do you not have a direction of the party at this point?
If you want me to give an indication, then we better discuss this outside this program. And
Why?
therefore, I'll be telling you my personal opinion. But as long as I'm here in this program, in my capacity as the National Publicity Secretary of the party, I must say things that are guided by the Constitution. I must say things that are not contradicting our own policies. Because I'm supposed to articulate the UDF policies. That's my job. I'm not here to be talking about myself. If you ask me my opinion, I'll give you a different opinion altogether. And this is not what I'm here for.
But you're here in your capacity as a representative of the UDF.
Yes, yes.
So you're not speaking
so I will not say,
you're not speaking in your personal capacity.
Yeah,
Yes. And I'm asking you, and I'm saying,
when I'm in this
what is
program,
the direction of the party?
But when I'm in this program, because the problem with you, you're forcing me to make a decision.
No.
I'm here to articulate the position of the party.
That's not true.
And that's what I'm saying is the position of the party.
Yes.
But you want me to make a decision, which I'm not going to do.
That's not true.
Because I don't have that mandate.
I've asked you what the indications are. That's not a decision.
In terms of the
you must have an idea what the
indications are. That one, we're going to have the convention. And secondly, we're going to discuss any other important issue that we think is very important. And perhaps this issue, what you're talking about, might be one of the issues.
Okay.
And the indications are that this is going to be discussed in a very open and transparent manner. And therefore, the decision that the people are going to make at that convention will carry the day.
All right, fine. Let's look at another question similar to what I've just asked you, though.
Yes,
has the DPP truly or rather UDF really benefited from this relationship in terms of your party? Or I mean, I don't know. Have you benefited as UDF? What has been the benefit in terms of the partnership?
Well,
what have you got to show for it?
You know, I was just, if you say that, I was just looking at, I was just browsing checking some Facebook today. And what I saw the President of the Republic, Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika, with the Minister of Health, Honorable Atupele Muluzi, who happens to be the President of the UDF. They went to see progress on the cancer center. You know there is this project. We are part and parcel of that development. And you know that this is one thing that we need to have in this country. And we are proud as UDF to be part and parcel of that progressive
okay, that's fine. That's the development of the country.
And perhaps that's just one of those things.
Yeah.
But there are quite a number of issues.
No, but I've asked you how UDF. I haven't asked you how the country has benefited from your partnership. I asked you how UDF, as a party, as an independent institution, how have you benefited from this relationship?
Last time I checked, my president, Right Honorable Atupele Muluzi, told me that he did not accept a cabinet appointment to save partisan interests. He's there to save everybody, not only the UDF. So the question should be, how have Malawians benefited from that? When I go to his office, I find people from all walks of life, chiefs, politicians from all political parties, from the opposition, from the ruling. I find them there. What do they do there? Because they know that he's a minister not for UDF.
So
he's a minister for everybody. And when he was appointed, he was not appointed. When he was appointed, he was not appointed to save the interests of the UDF. No,
but
that should not be the.
He was promoted to promote. He was appointed to promote the agenda of UDF. And when I say how have you benefited, that is what I'm driving at. How has your agenda, has your ideology gone forward?
Did the president tell you that he was there to promote the agenda of the UDF?
Well, he should, because that's why he's there.
No.
Your ideology is what we're interested in.
He is there to save the interests of Malawians.
Yes, through his ideology.
No. When he is a president, you should differentiate between government issues and political party issues.
No.
You should
Ndanga,
see the difference.
We
must draw the line. And unfortunately, we're coming for a 30-year period of one-party state where there was no difference between party and government.
The point I'm making is, for example, Atupele Muluzi has always pushed for youth empowerment, and it was very, high up on his agenda. Where is he with that? What has happened? He seems to have lost steam in terms of youth and you're creating job opportunities.
Let me tell you.
Where are we with that?
Let me tell one thing. When you are appointed a minister, you have to save that portfolio. If you're health, you have to save health. You cannot be saying, because I'm a UDF president, and therefore I'll also be doing agriculture, and therefore I'll also be doing foreign affairs, I'll also be doing finance because I'm a president of the UDF, and I'm in this government. You have to save your portfolio. And that's what exactly that is doing. And if you want to talk about whether he has failed, then you should be talking about the portfolios that he's saved.
Which is why I'm saying that you can understand now why some people would feel that you have been swallowed. You had clear ideologies, you had clear policies that you wanted to push for. Youth empowerment, youth perhaps opportunities were really high on the agenda of Atupele Muluzi. Suddenly that has completely lost steam. That's why we're saying...
In terms of what?
You've
in terms
lost,
of what? In
well,
terms of
is he still very active on that front? I don't think so.
In terms of what? I think
Youth
I think you should really differentiate. There's a difference between saying things and doing things.
Yes,
you
that's
understand?
the point. He said things, but he's not doing anything about it.
I think when you're doing things, you're only expressing that you say, if we get into government, and what we're talking about a UDF government. The difference is, if UDF was going to had won the elections, he was going to become what? President of the Republic. And therefore, he would have flexed freely his muscle to say, this is what I want in all these portfolios, because he is in charge. This time around, he's been given a particular portfolio to look after. And this time around, it is the Ministry of Health. You understand? That is the difference. And therefore, you should not be forcing him to be saying no, because when he was talking about, when he was in UDF, he was standing for the youth, and therefore he should be... No.
With all due respect, Ndanga, I'm not buying that
argument. For your information, he has never abandoned anything. He has never abandoned.
He may not
anything.
have abandoned it,
or
but
you
he
may not
certainly
wish
isn't
to
active.
buy the argument. You may not wish to buy the argument.
Yes, because it doesn't hold water. He is still there. He still has a following of UDF followers.
But it is
so
factual.
Irrespective of whether he's now in government or not, he still has a following who he has to appeal to.
The problem with you people, when we've got our activities, you don't come.
Yes, you've accused us of this
you
before.
You don't come. You should be coming to our activities.
And what would
and be able to listen to what is it that we stand for.
What would we find if we went there?
Because even if I was to ask you, do you even have a copy of our manifesto of 2014? You find that you don't even have.
We do, of course.
Do you even have a constitution of the UDF? You'll be telling me you don't have.
Of course.
I think it's high time now. I think the booklets have been released. They're going at 5,000 kwacha, and I'm buying one for your newsroom so that at least you should be able to follow.
Is that your way of deflecting?
No.
Deflecting the question.
Deflecting. It's not
Are you deflecting? The point I'm trying to make is
I'm beginning to understand that you are misinformed, and therefore at times your questions are based on misinformation.
That's not true.
And therefore I think I have to provide the necessary documentation so that when you face me, we should be talking. We should be speaking the same.
I will happily receive your copy, even though we already have one. But the point I'm making is Atupele Muluzi has been seen in the public eye to be losing his authenticity, losing what he stood for UDF. And like I said to you before, UDF was a bastion of civil liberties, etc., etc. And it seems you've lost that since your partnership. How are you going to
I'll tell you one thing.
Reassure your voters that that's not the case?
I'll tell you one thing. If Honorable Atupele Muluzi wasn't in this government, there would have still been a lot of people who would be saying, no, we cannot vote for him. You understand? That is what democracy is all about.
Maybe let me ask
there
you
will always be people who will be against you. No matter how good you are, no matter how best you can be, there will always be people who will be against you for their own reasons. Some of the reasons will be out of ignorance. Some of them will be prejudice.
Okay. Perhaps let me ask you this question. Has the partnership and Atupele Muluzi being in government, has it had any positive impact or effect on government?
You may not see the positive impacts.
No, I'm just asking. Just answer the question.
Yes
or no?
Yes, they have. They have quite a number of it. Quite a number of it.
Like?
You see, for you to understand how government works, you have to be in government. You cannot... There are people here in this country, they will come here at the TV, on the TV, they will talk about all sorts of things. Give them a government to run, they will fail because they don't know how things work.
But that is what anyone in government will say. You will always say
they
that.
don't know how things work.
Okay.
And most of the people, even when you talk, even those that are in parliament, but they've never worked perhaps in cabinet, they'll not even understand what it means to be in cabinet, what it means to run government.
So that's your response to my question as to whether he's had an impact.
Yes, that's the impact.
In the interest of time, Ndanga, final point.
Yes.
Balaka MP Lucius Banda has been a thorn in the side of UDF, I think, in a lot of ways, in recent times, particularly after this special relationship. I mean, I think so.
Thorn?
A thorn. Has he not been a thorn in your side? Given that he's on the others, he even refuses to sit on your side in Parliament, no?
And you call that a thorn?
Well, yes, he seems to be ruffling your feathers quite a bit.
Maybe perception.
You're unperturbed.
Perception.
Yeah, indeed. But that is the perception out there. Now, however, we are again receiving reports, and you might want to dispute these if they're wrong, that he seems to be now, he's being courted by members of UDF to kind of sort of be reined back in. Is this true in terms of his standing in the party?
To do what?
You tell me. I don't know. That's what we're hearing. That now he's kind of he's been approached to kind of I don't know. Maybe he's being approached to stand as a presidential candidate. But that is what the rumor that's going around.
Well, last time I checked, Honorable Lucius Banda,
yes,
was a member of the national executive of the party. Last time I checked the records, we even met at the last, I think 4 months ago.
Okay.
When we were having our national executive meeting, he was there. And not only that, when the president visited Balaka and met all the leaders in Balaka, he was also there.
Okay.
He was also given a chance to speak.
That's what I'm saying.
And for anybody to say no, he's been quoted from where?
Yeah,
where did he go?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Where did he go?
Was he not in conflict with his own party when he clearly said that this is not a partnership? We don't even have an official documentation.
He only expressed his own opinion, which we respected. Which we respected, and nothing further than that.
So the action that he still takes today to refuse to recognize almost effectively the partnership, you don't think that's being a thorn in the side? You don't think? It's not. And these reports we're hearing that he's now being quoted, it's not an attempt to mend fences with him?
Our relationship with any political party, any political organization will always be temporary. But in terms of membership, members will always be there.
He openly defies you in Parliament.
In terms of what?
In terms of where he sits.
So what do you expect us to do? He's only expressing he's only exercising his right, and we've no problem with that. If there are people within the party that have problems with that, they'll tell us we've got a problem with that, and we'll act accordingly. But in as far as we're concerned, there's nothing that we're going to do. At least for now, there's nothing that we're going to do.
All right. Last point. We've run out of time, Ndanga. Is a UDF the UDF that we have come to know over the last, like you said, 30 years? Do you still have the clout, the momentum to make an impact, to convince the electorate that you can come back and offer those liberal principles that you talked about at length? Are you still that UDF?
Any institution has its own life, and life is like a journey. You have to go through the potholes.
It also has a lifespan.
You have to go through bends. You have to go through all sorts of problems.
And also a lifespan.
But what is more important is to remain focused. What is more important is to go back to the drawing board and to say, where did we go wrong? And how do we move forward? And that's exactly what we're doing as a party. You might not see it, because there are certain things that we do behind the scenes. But one day, you will be in this program congratulating us for doing a very good job.
It's very easy to say that, though, isn't it? Because indeed, we can't see what you're talking about. So it's easy to say that.
Yes, it's easy to say that. But when you say that, we are not even disturbed.
Okay.
Because we know what we're doing. It is only a person who doesn't know what he's doing who will be disturbed by any destructive statements. But as UDF, because we know where we're coming from and we know where we're going.
Okay.
Yes, challenges always.
But if you want people to vote for you, they need to know what you're doing.
Yes, of course. Of course.
Okay.
Campaign hasn't started. 15 years, we've got 15 months. But 15 months is a very long period in politics. Even a day is a very long period.
Okay.
And watch out. The UDF is coming in full force.
All right.
Sure.
Ndanga, let's leave it there. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on Times Exclusive. Indeed, I'm sure you will be back, probably with a vengeance, given that the election period has officially opened. And we look forward to the campaign period. But I'm afraid that is where we're going to have to leave this week's edition of Times Exclusive. Join me, Wezi Kasambala, again for another edition. Until then, it's bye-bye.